What's up guys, it's Louis John Emilian, that's Louie, your instructor for today's video. Now, for our topic, we are going to tackle philosophical basis of inclusivity and equality education. At the end of this lecture, you will be able to define inclusivity and equality, differentiate equality and inclusion, explain goals of inclusive in education, and analyze strategies for providing effective inclusive education. What is equality in education? Sameness in terms of access of education and uniform distribution of educational opportunities. Freedom to develop personal abilities and make educational choices irrespective of differences of behavior, aspirations, and needs. Where there is no stereotypes, rigid gender rules, and prejudices that limit a student to perform at his or her fullest potential. What is inclusion? It refers to a standard that applies to everyone in a certain education system, the same level of using language instruction, the same experience, the same learning resources, or the equal chance of participation. Inclusion in education is based on many universal declarations which reflect on universal human rights and the rights of children. Inclusion in education is based on the 21st century pillar of education: learning to know, learning to do, learning to be, and learning to live together. Inclusion is precisely about reforming schools and ensuring that every child receives quality and appropriate education within the schools. In particular, inclusion is based on 4 key elements: a never-ending process concerned with identification and removal of barriers. It is about the presence, participation, and achievement of all students. It touches on groups to learners who may be excluded, marginalized, or at risk of underachievement. The Salamanca Statement concluded that regular schools with an inclusive orientation are the most effective means of combating discriminatory attitudes, creating welcoming communities, building an inclusive society, and achieving education for all. Moreover, they provide an effective education to the majority. A philosophy, not a program. Inclusive education is a philosophy. It is not a program, nor does it happen in isolation. It can't happen in one classroom and not the other. The successful inclusion of special needs students requires the shared value system, resources, and collaboration of the state, province, school district, home, school, and classroom. Meaning of inclusion in education: process of addressing and responding to the diversity of needs of all children, youth, and adults through increasing participation in learning, cultures, and communities, and reducing and eliminating exclusion within and from education. UNICEF 2005. So education is a movement started since 1994 Salamanca Statement by 92 governments and 25 international organizations in the World Conference on Special Needs Education, Access and Equality, organized by UNESCO in Salamanca, Spain. Goals of inclusive education: enable individual to participate effectively in society and reaching his/her potential, combat discriminatory attitudes, and build an inclusive society for achieving education for all, provide an effective education to the majority of children, and improve the efficiency and the cost effectiveness of the entire education system, provide academically effective, inclusive, gender-responsive, healthy, and protective environment for all children, and encourages the participation of the learners themselves, their families, and their communities. Overcome future learner differences among youth and adults. Inclusion education have 3 basic elements. First, use of teaching assistants or specialists. These staff have the potential to be inclusive or divisive. For instance, a specialist who helps teachers address the needs of all students is working inclusively. Second, inclusive curriculum includes locally relevant themes and contributions by marginalized and minority groups. It avoids binary narratives of good and bad and allows adapting the curriculum to the learning style of children with special education needs. And lastly, parental involvement. Most schools strive for some level of parental involvement, but it is often limited to emails home and occasional parent-teacher conferences. In diverse school system, inclusion means thinking about multiple ways to reach out to parents in their own terms. Now, to have a recap, inclusion is understanding your school community, valuing everyone, celebrating diversity and individuality, valuing other cultures, challenging the way things are organized so the student needs, reflecting on your practice, providing flexible learning, knowing and understand the needs of a student, not just about access, more than just a policy.
Thanks for watching. I hope you learned something about philosophical basis of inclusivity and equality education.